Gents, afternoon. Good to see you all. Thanks for coming. So this is a panel we've sort of come up with. We've called it Designing for Resale and Charter. Kind of the premise is how much can design influence the value of a yacht, both in terms of new build, in terms of refit, and kind of the view from different parts of the industry. We've got a designer, we've got a sales broker, a charter manager, and a shipyard head. Chaps, could we just very quickly run down the line, quick introductions of each of you? Just speak, you don't need to press.
John Vickers. I run my own design studio on the south coast of the UK. I've been designing boats for 25 years. We've currently got 2 500 GT boats in build, 2 300 GT boats in build. We've got refits at, being worked through at Lurson, Aberking. We've just had a lovely refit done at Pendennis, which, if I can right or wrong, is a shipyard in the UK, along with Sunseeker and heaps of other yacht builders. So very important to recognise that while we've got this moment. And very pleased to be here amongst so many exalted yacht builders.
I'm Nicolas Fry. I'm coming from France. I work for the company here, Robinson, and the head of charter management. I've been doing charter management for the last 13 years, and before that I did my captain license. And before that I was a yacht manager, and to begin with, I took care of the boats of my father as an owner's rep, and starting to book some charters for him.
Stephen Hills, as already mentioned, I represent the last remaining UK super yard that deals with big yachts. Not as big as many, but we're hanging on in Cornwall, doing our best to offer an excellent British service. Nice to meet you all.
Hi, Will Christie, Christie Yachts. I'm a broker, and I've been involved in a number of large new construction projects, and hopefully bring something to the table as far as resale value is concerned. I've seen a few things that have definitely affected resale negatively and positively.
Brilliant. Well, you've earned yourself the right to go first then, Will, with that. So, the basic premise of this is then, so how does design influence resale? How does it influence the whole value of a yacht? Just kind of take us away with this, with sort of some general comments to start with.
Yeah, I think I've seen in the last almost 25 years of doing this, there are probably, I was thinking about this on the way, and there are 3 things that I think can massively reduce the resale value of a boat. One, I would say not having enough guest cabins. There's a rather naff cushion on quite a lot of boats that says you never know how many friends you have until you buy a super yacht. It's true. But I think even for charter, it's really useful to have more cabins. I've seen a few boats that have just had 1 or 2 less cabins than you might expect on that length of yacht, and they really struggle to resell, and they often sell at quite big discounts because of that. There's nothing else wrong with the boat apart from it just doesn't have enough cabins. Same with crew cabins. We had a boat recently which we really struggled to sell because they just didn't have enough crew accommodation. And the original owner wanted to run the boat privately, but a lot of people wanted a higher level of service or to charter and just simply couldn't accommodate enough crew. So I bear that in mind. And third, the really big one also can be interior design, or any design. I mean, it's very subjective, but I would say about 10% of newly rich people want an interior that they imagine British aristocrats live in. I call it Sheriff of Nottingham chic. This is gold, mahogany, really opulent. I mean, if you ever went to an aristocrat's house, it's not like that. There's normally threadbare carpets and a smelly Labrador by the Arga, but they don't do their yacht like that. So I would avoid Sheriff of Nottingham chic. That tends to have terrible resale value. So a kind of neutral palette, which people can personalize at the point of purchase, will help protect resale value, in my opinion. So those are the 3 things that I've picked up on that can really negatively, and if you avoid those, you'll probably be in a pretty good space when it comes to resale.
John, you're a designer. Is Sheriff of Nottingham chic your forte?
Funny enough, no. yeah, it's not ideal to come to me straight away after that because as the only interior designer in the group. In fact, is there any other designers at all in the audience? Rob? So there's one designer in the audience. Potentially, I saw Davy Lewis here, and some naval architects. Cool. Very underrepresented in this particular conversation, so I feel a very serious responsibility to not make a mess of it, obviously. No, Sheriff of Nottingham Chic went out some time ago, fortunately.
So from your point of view then, John, I mean, how influential are you in terms of that resale value? I mean, obviously you're designing at sort of the starting point. Are you part of the conversation early on about what it might be worth down the line?
It's a sort of bit of an oxymoron to start a yacht project and be conscious or determinedly thinking about the resale of it. But if you have an owner with half a mind to buy another boat, that tends to be the way they're looking at it. And certainly in my sphere at the moment, building boats of 500 GT, 300 GT boats, they're all thinking about progressing into 1,000 GT. The dream is building at Heason or Fedship or Lursen So the other thing that's really important to mention is just in terms about resale, we're talking about potentially keeping the value of the project, and that's where a designer can come in early and help to set budgets. So the earlier you can get in as a designer, the better you can make it for the crew, better you can make it for the owners in terms of getting the layout correct, and then setting budgets which then mean that you're not potentially losing money further down the line. The interior design, it is subjective. Making sure that an owner doesn't go too wild with their own ideas can be quite difficult. And we've all had problems with that over the years, I'm sure. Will and Stephen will attest to that one.
Have you had some difficult conversations, John? Give us a glimpse into your world where you've sort of had to talk to them.
I've actually got some slides to show you, but I don't know if you want to do that now. You can. When I set up my own business some 10 years ago, prior to that I'd worked for Terry Disdale, who doesn't really have to advertise or think about budgets. This first yacht is a new build, 300 GT boat, Calypso. She isn't one boat, she's actually 10, because off the back of this boat, they then launched the most, what I think or feel you'll be able to tell me is one of the most successful 300 GT yachts in the size, which is also the most competitive size because there's so many other yachts out there. Point being is it's also a total charter machine, and it charters for at least 10 weeks a year, if not 12. This was an easy one. The next one, I actually wanted to flick through to the last one because I wanted to show some of the work, interior design work, that I've been asked to correct by brokers who phoned me up and said, can you help us sell this boat? And on the left, you'll see this is Ganesha. The details and the colours we just toned down very simply in a quick Photoshop exercise to try and help sell the yacht. In terms of interior design exercise, it's relatively simple to do, but really important to try and help the market move. The next one would be similar. You can tell. Now, this boat's an interesting one because you may recognise Serafsa, which was an old Andrew Winch job from DML. And on the left, obviously, it's quite feisty with the fabrics. We toned it down a bit. We didn't actually get the project to refit her, but we have been doing her. She's now a 90-metre that's being put through in Amoco. Anyway, the point is that the interior design has become was prohibitively difficult to sell because of, as you can tell, all the overcooking. And then the next one I wanted to really show you was this one, which is a boat called Ocean Bird. Now, the difficult conversation with this project was it's a refit on a boat called 52-metre called Toot Sweet. If you have a look at the owner's cabin, looks, okay, it's of a type, it's of a style, but if you look to the right, that cabin there was the dressing room, and you're also looking at what was the captain's cabin. And so the owners on this 52-metre took the whole bridge deck, basically, including, if you look at the bottom left, is the pantry. And the pantry became the room of temptation, which was filled with cakes and other kind of slight things like that. But more than that, it had a whole bank of display fridges, which took up the portside crew stair all the way to the sun deck. So the conversations I've had with them were, please don't do that, because it's impossible to resell the boat. You can't, there's no crew access to the sun deck. There's no crew access to the bridge. And I wrote letters to them. And the boat then had 40 viewings, I think 20 LOIs, and eventually sold off market. But the guy lost all his money on the refit, and he spent somewhere in the region of about 7 or 8 million. So that was one of the hard conversations.
Yeah, okay. Well, Nicolas, let's just ask you quickly from a charter perspective then. Not in terms of resale, of course, but just in terms of charter, how does design affect the desirability of charter yachts and whether they're going to charter at all?
I think most of the yachts that we have on the market are not fit for charter. They are built and designed for an owner. And this owner, after 4 or 5 years, might want to do a bit of charter or might want to resell to someone else who wants to do charter. But so every yacht that has been built until now has been done for an owner, a family, a group of friends, but generally for one person. And is not really dedicated and perfect for the charter business. The charter business, we need a yacht that is dedicated, that is designed for this purpose. And an example is, for example, the flexibility of the cabins. Now we can see more flexibility on the cabins, and you can find owner double that can transformed into twins, or maybe like 2 cabins that can be open with a partition wall to create a large VIP, this kind of thing. So we need flexibility. We need of course, spaces close to the water, like beach clubs, etc. We need sun decks, but sun decks that are not just for sun loungers, but most probably a place where you can have a dinner under the stars with the chef cooking for you, a place where you can have a party, a place where there is a bar, where there is a jacuzzi, where there are plenty of things that generally are missing. And yachts generally, they are not thought for the charter market, and they adapt. And especially for the crew, it's quite difficult because most of these yachts are meant to be crewed, of course, but not for the ability to deliver such an experience as a charter. And as we are going through the development of the charter business, I think that we should think about a boat that is perfectly made for the charter business and that is fit for this activity, which is delivering a very different experience that owners used to like in, like, let's say 10 or 15 years before, which was sitting on the boat, having some friends, a party, and that's it. Now it's all about the experience, the wellness, the discovering new places, new destinations. So it's Explorer Yachts, we're building that, but I think the yachts need to be more adapted to be fit to the charter business.
Okay, well, I think we're going to hear a bit more from you tomorrow on that subject. Stephen, let's come to you from Pendennis. You're very much active in the refit, the relifing, the rebuilding world. Talk us through some of the conversations you have with owners around kind of design at the outset and how that affects their decision making.
Okay, so I think the most important thing from a shipyard's perspective is to listen to the owner, and one of our jobs is to make sure that all the parties in the team are really taking on board what the client wants, and then that's what we try and realise and try and make sure that their wishes are executed. One of the things we see, the better the quality of the design input, the better able we are to realise a great refit or conversion. So quality design early, listening to each other, making sure that the engineering considerations, structural considerations are really taken account of in the development of the plan for the project. We really concentrate and deliver bespoke projects, so it's always a case of tuning what we're going to deliver to the client's wishes, whether that's a stern extension or a complete new interior, and it's very much adaptive and listening.
Talk us through some of those conversations when they're sort of discussing it. You know, should I refit this? Should I relife it? Or should I just go and buy a new yacht? I mean, talk us through how you kind of come up with those decisions with them.
I think my recommendation would be always that if you can't find a platform that suits your needs to do a conversion, then obviously there's great new build yards that build super large yachts here, and you're going to have to build a new platform. But what we would advocate, and is worthy of consideration, is that think of your asset, or the potential asset, as like a super residence in the center of a city. You don't always knock it down and build a new one, or you don't always look for an empty space to build a new property on. You very often take an existing property and you remodel it. And there are many great yachts out there that are good platforms, structurally sound. Think of the hull as the walls and the structure, and the inside of the yacht is what you take out and you re-engineer and you re-life. So we like to look at putting new yachts, effectively new yachts out there based on an existing platform. I've got a few before and afters if you want to. Yeah, I've got my, do you want to put my,
I think that's it, actually.
is it? Okay, we didn't get them. No, that's all right.
Just
no,
to mention,
no
that
worries.
is
But,
the 57 metre we've just done together down at Pendennis. Solid.
which is a great example of, as I say, a re-lifing, taking a good existing platform and rebirthing it to the owner's new wishes, new systems, re-engineering where it's needed, making sure all the structure is sound. And I think that can shift the asset. I mean, there is a certainty with any asset that you're going to suffer some depreciation. But with a clever refit and re-engineering and re-lifing, you can actually, the certainty is that it will be a depreciating asset. The option is whether it becomes obsolete. So when you re-life and repurpose and reimagine your asset, you can put it in a new place in the market, which we've seen with a lot of our yachts.
Well, talk us about some of the conversations you have with clients and prospects around this kind of idea of design and whether it's going to keep the value or not.
I think that's one thing a good broker can really bring to the new build process, is we do understand what clients are actually looking for. And so I always say to clients, I know you're building this dream yacht, but one day you will want to sell it, or your family will if you're no longer here. So I think it's a really important consideration, and I like to explain to them features that I've seen that people buy into massively and features that turn them off, and try and build them out. We're doing a big new build at the moment with some people in this room, actually, I won't say who, but the owner said, I only need one bathroom. And it's a big boat, a really big boat. I'm like, no, you need to have his and hers. I said, you might be okay sharing a bathroom, but charterers won't. And he's interested in a bit of charter. He's not sure if he wants to or not, but he'd like the option to. And I'm like, no, if someone's paying, and this boat will be well over 2 million a week, they expect separate bathrooms. And when it comes to resale, I said, it's going to be a lot easier to do it now than it will be during a refit later, or the plumbing and everything. So there are a lot of things we do. And we talk about things that market trends, for at the moment, people like beach clubs, they want pools, they want high deck head heights. We've been really working on deck head heights and pushing it to the real limit, big expanses of glass, gyms, crew gyms even. If you want to have good crew on a big boat and on a really big boat, they expect a gym. So there are all these little things and operational things which sometimes, and that's about bringing the right team together as well. We brought a captain into the team who's the guy who wants to go around the world, so you've got to think about, you'll run out of food way before you run out of fuel. Everyone talks about fuel, but you've got to feed everyone. And where do you put all the rubbish? You've got to have freezers for rubbish to actually freeze the rubbish before you can get somewhere. So all these considerations, it all has to be at the beginning, not when you get the captain a year before delivery. They go, well, where's the garbage freezer? We don't have one. Oh, it's too late. So all the work you do early on pays massive dividends. But that's why it's taken us 2 years to get to the signing of this contract on that particular boat. It was all that consideration and development, everything moving around. And of course, the boat always ends up growing, unfortunately for the client. But once you've got everything in, the boat just starts to grow. If you're building 500 gross ton boats, obviously there are limitations. You've got to work out what's more important, what has to give. So it is a real puzzle, but with the right team and a good designer, you can squeeze all these things in. But I do think every person, when they're building a boat, has to think, one day I'll have to sell. I've seen loads of boats also being built with no commercial compliance. I'm like, because they go, well, I won't have to charter. Well, the next guy will. Like half the people probably will want to charter. Could massively affect the resale value. So I think every single person building a boat should think, one day I want to sell, one day I might not want to charter, but the guy I sell to might want to. And if you put that in right at the beginning, then you'll protect yourself best for resale. And just stick to those rules, No Sheriff of Nottingham. Lots of cabins, lots of crew accommodation, and then, with a few other, but then there are a few other sprinkles, and, you'll be pretty safe.
Nico, you were nodding your head along to some of that Will was saying. Give us your view on that sort of point from your charter perspective.
I fully agree with you. The number of cabins is very important, and even on a 50 meter, you want to have 6 cabins. That's what you need to accommodate 12 people, and also the number of crew, because this is for the charter in particular, but the charter experience comes from the crew, and if you have 10 or 11 or 12 crew, it makes a difference during the charter. So it's very important to have the right number of crew for the right number of guests, which is generally 12, unless you are very small size range, around 30 or 40 meter. But what I want to really, I didn't say that in my previous comment, is that yes, a well-designed boat will charter better. And especially if it's well built in a Northern European yard.
Including Pendennis.
Or, in UK, it's Northern Europe, no? But it really adds to the value of the boat. And the best boats I've ever chartered were a fed ship, a small one, 26 meter, but from 1969, and we were doing more than 100 days of charter per year. Because it kept the line after all these years. Everybody knew the boat that has been sold many times, but it has been well refitted at fed ship. It was part of the fed ship heritage fleet, and everybody wanted that boat. Even the brokers that came on board wanted that boat for their family. And others, we have at the moment an Amos 42 meter, which has been refitted completely. It's called Sheer Gold, and this kept the line as well, and now is going to do the Northwest Passage this summer because he's capable of doing this kind of crossing, and those boats are really perfect for the charter business because they last long. After so many years, they are still desirable.
Well, Stephen, actually, you made a point when we were discussing this panel about how maybe the smarter charter yacht is actually a re-lifed classic or character yacht. Talk to us about that.
I think the point I was making and would bring into the conversation is that relifing an existing quality yacht brings your project to life in, let's say, half the time or less than a new build. So if there is a platform with good modifications and intelligent redesign that suits your needs, then from an investment and a return perspective, you can actually put the asset into operation in a fraction of the time that you would do with a new build project. So I think that was one of the angles I was coming from, that just in terms of deliverability. And I think also it touches on a point that was made earlier today, that what is going to happen to all of these yachts when people keep buying new yachts? Well, I'm saying relife them. They shouldn't deteriorate. They're something which, as an industry, we should be, they're all wonderful, amazing achievements when they're built, and we should be custodians of them. Certainly the larger yachts should be perfectly capable of going on forever. Pendennis have gladly restored many classic yachts and kept them alive, and I think that's an important aspect to bear in mind.
John, let's just come back to you for a sec. I mean, we'll mention teamwork there, but in terms of kind of teamwork amongst the disciplines, talk to us about how you work with a broker and a yard, how you all kind of work, not necessarily obviously knowingly, but you're working together.
Well, it's definitely a teamwork. I mean, it's 100% teamwork. All emails are basically shared, and then that's the sort of beginning of it. And the very core of it every day, the project managers of all our projects are in copy with pretty much everything. And everything goes to the shipyard. I mean, it's 100% teamwork. Getting the layout right is more design-led, but then getting brokers and shipyards to develop and be part of that is essential to get a good quality boat. And then involving crew as well, to make sure that crew is completely considered. Certainly the two yachts that I showed up there, Solace, she's a small boat, but perfectly formed, and hence why she's done so well in terms of selling another 10. But the crew was deeply considered. There are bars everywhere, there's storage everywhere. The actual layout isn't perfect for them forward. Their spaces aren't so ideal, but that's the nature of it. But the working environment is what's kept them doing so well at charter. Solace, the refit we've just worked on with Pendennis, is, again, it was all reconfigured with charter in mind, with the experience of the captain, with the experience of the crew, deeply considered. She had done a bit of charter before. I think, Will, you sold her, so she was, she was a charter yacht. But I think the
owner is in the refit of Pendennis of Solace, which was previously called Mary A. I actually sold the boat to the current owner, and we were quite involved in it. But so we were looking to charter, but like they've extended the hull. They put a sauna in the lads. There's another crew cabin they've made because they wanted to go off beat and have guides on board. So all these things, we're talking about crew numbers. Well, he's actually made another crew cabin on that boat with John doing the design, and Pendennis. I don't know. We ended up on this panel randomly, by the way. This is not something like a sales pitch of the dream team. It obviously is, but
well, it's definitely random because I met Rob learning to wingsurf on the beach. So it's totally random, genuinely.
Okay, right, okay. It's your fault.
Sort of random. So we do some questions from the audience. The first one there says, "What's wrong with non-Northern European yachts to charter? Hang on, to charter out."
There
I
is
say
nothing
only
wrong.
be Dutch or German. Nick, I'm guessing that's one for you.
No, there is nothing wrong, and I've also managed some Italian builds and Turkish builds that did as well very well. What I see as a difference between, let's say, a yacht designed and built in Italy and a yacht designed and built in Northern Europe, and especially Holland, is that this yacht will keep his line longer. Maybe the yacht built in Italy will be more beautiful at the beginning, but after 10 years, you will look it in a different way, and you will prefer probably the one that is built in Holland. And having said that, it's good for the charter of this yacht that is built in Northern Europe, because it will keep its value longer. And also being built in Northern Europe, as I would say, with a better quality of finish, it allows as well to keep its value and to keep its value high, and an easier maintenance as well. And it's very important for the charter, because the boat needs to be running smoothly all year long. Every time you need it, it needs to run. It cannot run only 2 or 3 months a year. So that's in that sense that I really recommend this Northern European for the charter industry, but not only in general. But I love as well Italian shipyards, and they do as well very well on the charter market.
Okay. Any views on large yachts like Renaissance with substantially more cabins than usual. John, do you have any views on that question?
No, not really. I think good luck to them. I mean, I think it's hard, it's potentially harder work for Will to try and sell them.
No, I don't. I think, interestingly, if you look at the charter market, the really big boats do incredibly well. Because if you look at boats over 80 metres, the ones that actually are available for charter, it's a small proportion of the fleet because they don't need the money, right? But there is still plenty of demand. There are plenty of very rich people who only want to be on a boat 2 weeks a year because they're busy or they have other pastimes. And they get very booked up. So I think there's a good space in the market, especially ones which are PYC, passenger yacht code, and can take more than 12 passengers, because those are even more rare. And people have big family gatherings, or they want a big party, and they don't want to be restricted to 12 guests. So, I think big boats succeed. They really succeed on the charter market. There's not enough stock. I've got a client now looking for a 90-meter plus boat this summer, and we're really struggling to find something in July and August. It's all booked up.
In fact, the limit of the number of guests is a problem, especially on the charter market. So we're always limited with the number 12. And they always ask for supernumeraries. How many supernumeraries the captain will accept on board? Is it 1, 2, 3, 4, 5? No, it's not possible. There is some regulation, some rules that we need to follow. And that's why those passenger vessels that can host 24, 26, 36 guests are not so many on the charter market and doing very well. The example of Sherakan, for example, Legend was doing also very well. Now, Aqualaris. Of course, Renaissance is one of the best, one of the most expensive. I used to manage Dream, the 106-meter, also for 36 guests. Christie, I used to manage Christie at Camper Nicholson's. She was doing so well on the charter market, 36 guests. So yeah.
Just to also mention that brings in another opportunity for refit, because the refit we did on Leander, which was a 70-meter yacht, beautiful classic, the owner bought her because she was built under, I think it was LY1 or something. It wasn't. There were no regulations at the time, so there were cabins everywhere. And you don't find yachts like that being built regularly now because of the obviously Part A regs, which keep you to 12 passengers. Leander was one, and also Sarafsa was another one, again built without the 12-person regs, so there were cabins everywhere. And running on private use, it's absolutely fine.
There's a question up there, I mean, for anyone really, but do any owners think about residual values? I mean, go on then, Will, you're nodding.
Absolutely. I think the biggest cost of yachting, if you get it wrong, is depreciation. It's the one that brokers probably don't talk about. I talk about it because I think it's incredibly easy to buy the wrong yacht at the wrong price. I spend most of my time telling people don't buy that boat, don't buy this one, and why. But I think that's the value you should add as a broker. Just make sure that they understand what they're buying, and if you buy the wrong yacht at the wrong price, you'll lose a huge amount of money on resale. So I think they are focused on it. They don't necessarily think about it immediately, but I think it's our job to explain that to them, because for me, I want a long relationship with the client. So if you sell someone a boat for 50 and then 3 years later they have to sell it for 25, it's probably the end of your relationship. And I think as an industry, we don't want that to happen. As a whole, all of us here, we want to retain people as owners. We want them to have a really good experience. We don't want them going around saying to other rich friends, "Oh, don't that whole bloody." I said to someone last night, "Oh, the best day of your life, the day you buy it and then the day you sell it." I was like, that's because they probably weren't rich enough, A, and B, they were badly advised. But I hate hearing that, because that means somewhere along the line someone's not being properly advised, or they've gone in without their eyes wide open. I mean, I've never sold a boat to someone who's asked me for a full budget. Never. I normally say, "Oh yeah, running costs, I know, 4 or 5 million." I thought that was right. That guy's going to buy a boat. The guy who asked for a full budget, I know the next question. The next question is, how much will I make in charter? I go, no. You think this is a business. It's not a business. It's a luxury. It's a luxury. And as soon as you understand that, then you'll enjoy it. Imagine there's no charter revenue. Does that make you come out in hives, and they sometimes go, yeah, a little bit. And you go, that's fine, just charter. We'll still make money out of you chartering, so that's fine for me. We charter as well. But my point is there are plenty of billionaires who only charter, but I think it's really important right from the outset, instead of trying to massage the numbers and not tell them about what yachting really is, then they're going to come out with a really bad feeling. And so it's up to us to educate them. And being honest is not a bad thing. As I said, let's tell them the truth. There is depreciation, there can be. I think there's actually appreciation in yacht values at the moment because the rebuild costs, I was having this chat with Michael a minute ago, the inflation in new build prices, which they can't avoid because of labour costs going up so much, means that I think well-built, well-designed boats that have been built in the last kind of 10 years from the pedigree shipyards are probably holding value very well, maybe even appreciating in value. Because if you want to go and build a boat now, it's a lot more expensive, and they're going to tell you you've got to wait till 2031, 32. And if you're 75 years old, you go, well, let's just get on with it. So I think a really well-designed boat right now will hold value very well. If you get it right. You have to do it right.
At the right shipyard.
Yeah.
Which is you, Stephen. Pick up on Will's thing then. I mean, from his point of view about the residual value, you must have those conversations all the time.
I think it's slightly different because for us, principally, well, we do two things. We do bespoke new builds occasionally. It's 20% of our business, and customer coming to us for yachts. That's really their dream. The resale conversation we've not really had. As far as the refit and relife, yeah, for sure. There is always a discussion around the client trying to get a context as to the investment in the refit and potential kind of after refit value. But as has been well said, yachting, you don't own a yacht to make money, and we provide a service, and it's really then down to the owner to decide whether they feel that further investment makes sense for them. So that's how we tend to approach it.
Almost out of time. I was going to take one more just on there because it's got 3 thumbs up, which is massive. Opinion on residential yacht approach like the Maybach or Nord project? Anyone got an opinion on that? Well, you've probably got an opinion.
I don't even know what it is.
Does anyone?
I thought the Maybach was a car. What the hell's that? Is this like a thing where you live on and you become a kind of offshore tax resident? Like the Four Seasons thing?
I think it's the large super yachts that are built for hotels, luxury residences that goes around the world, like the World. And yeah, it's a new kind of business, and it's between cruise ship and luxury yachting. And there is a gap there that you can see more and more companies, and especially hospitality brands that go into, and that's another kind of good business, and that's why they are investing in those new platforms.
Okay, let's just do one more quickly. If with client or as spec boat suitable for resale, what's the difference between USA and UAE in USPs? That's a lot of U's and letters there. You may target. Anyone want to take that?
Don't understand the question. Don't really understand it.
I think they're asking, would you design the yacht differently for American market as opposed to a UAE market? Would there be certain features that you would include?
That is brilliantly deciphered, Stephen. I like that.
Funny enough.
John, go.
Funnily enough, I think the USA and the UAE market are weirdly similar in terms of interior design, different in terms of layout. But yeah, in terms of interior decoration.
Want more space inside for the UAE and outside on decks.
Yeah, the UAE boats tend to have, for that region, they tend to have less exterior deck space than not.
More covered, totally covered on the outside.
A bit toasty out there.
Okay, I mean, there's lots more we can unpick on this whole topic, but very sadly we're out of time because we've still got lots of things to get through this afternoon. So, gentlemen, thank you very much indeed for your time.